Tattooing Across Culture and Time, a conference presentation by Erin Mitchell. Tattooing is an ancient form of body modification that can be linked to societies across the globe and across time. The word tattoo derives from the Polynesian noun tattoo, which literally refers to a puncture or mark made on the skin. The first tattoos were administered by stick and poke method. This practice involves puncturing the skin and injecting ink into the wound. The skin then heals around the ink and leaves a permanent design. The act of stick and poke tattooing can take on various forms and requires different tools. Some practices would include rubbing ash into existing wounds and cuts, while others scrape or scratch the skin and then cover with liquid dye. Archaeological records show indications of tattooing practices as far back as the Neolithic era, some of the earliest of these being found on the 5,300-year-old mummy Otzi the Iceman. South American Chinchorro mummies were also discovered to have evidence of culturally altered skin patterns. In Western society, we are familiar with tattoo guns, which both puncture the skin and inject the ink in one stroke. Whatever the method, the goal is the same: to alter a section of the skin's outer appearance. Presently, tattoos are most often a choice of free will by the individual, but this has not always been the case. In ancient China, for instance, tattoos were considered heinous and were sometimes applied by force to convicts and outlaws. Similarly, in Egypt, women who committed crimes were tattooed on their arms and legs. In Nazi Germany, many prisoners of concentration camps were branded with identification numbers on arrival that stayed with them forever. These numbers began as embroidered garments, but when death tolls rose, corpses needed to be identifiable. Historically, there are many other situations of war that have resulted in similar cases of involuntary body modification. Westernized societies, however, dawned a new era for tattooing for the purpose of self-expression. Tattooing parlors became popular in Great Britain in the very early 1800s, but due to the painful and expensive process, was mainly reserved for those of royalty. Infection and scarring due to underdeveloped tools were common occurrences, with there even being reported cases of death. The first tattoo guns were battery operated, but otherwise mimic a similar design to the modern ones. As technology and medicine have progressed, tattooing practices have become much safer and more routine. But tattoo guns are a fairly simple device to create. Inmates or rebellious teenagers or anyone else without access to a tattoo gun can easily create one with household items such as guitar strings, electric razors, and the ink capsule inside of a ballpoint pen. Presently, in Western society, there are two types of people in the tattooing world: those with tattoos and those who are tattooed. Someone with tattoos will often have them in an easily hidden area of their body, and although the wearer may identify with their tattoos do not define their identity. Someone who is tattooed wears their tattoos in a very obvious and intentional way. Large face, neck, or hand pieces are a good indication of a tattooed individual. These individuals are often associated with social nonconformities, consciously choosing a marginalized lifestyle. Traditionally, getting a tattooed was viewed as a form of rebellion or even delinquency. The adoption of tattoos for gang purposes or prison sentences cast a discriminatory light on the industry as a whole. Consequences of these discriminations have severely affected work opportunities for citizens with visible tattoos. Over the last decade or two, Western societies have begun to slowly recognize and even accept tattoos as something more than an act of defiance. Younger generations have shifted the conceptions of what tattooing is about, and with that allowed for this ancient art form to be redefined. With that said, recent sociological studies still show a strong correlation between tattoos and delinquent behavior. Stereotypes often have some component of truth to them, and the reasons behind tattooing are no exception. Although the negative connotations around tattooed people are still extremely prevalent in Western culture, people with tattoos are now being generally accepted as a common thing. Life magazine estimated that in 1963, 6% of the US population had at least one tattoo. In 2012, the Harris Poll estimated that now 21% of the population had at least one or more tattoos. Along with this newfound toleration of tattooing, the industry itself has grown exponentially. According to US News and World Report, a new tattoo parlor is being opened almost every single day in the United States. Tattooing is considered one of the quickest growing retail endeavors of the 1990s, right behind internet and bagels. With the tattoo industry gaining so much popularity so quickly, the issue of cultural appropriation has reared its ugly and common head. In the US, in July 2002, the term tattoos were the second most frequently used search term. Accompanying that term were words such as Japanese letters or Chinese symbols. The majority of people using this search had no cultural ties to the designs that they were considering. Traditional Hawaiian or Tongan tattoos have also been adopted in the US. It is not uncommon to come across someone of Caucasian descent with a tribal design across their shoulder. The desensitization of tattoos in Western societies have taken away from ancient cultures that have been tattooing for centuries. Tattooing is a multicultural and diverse form of body modification that has been changed and adapted throughout time. The earliest methods of tattooing are still prevalent in modern societies, but there are also new techniques being practiced. For example, corneal tattooing is where the artist injects ink right into the individual's cornea. In Western societies, people with tattoos are becoming more and more common and therefore are more socially accepted. Tattoos were previously associated with delinquent behavior, but are now most often linked with open-mindedness and self-expression. In another 100 years, tattooing is predicted to take many more twists and turns, both in the practice itself and in the social eye. These body modification techniques have been around possibly as long as the human race, and they just continue to grow. Thank you.